Why aren't you working? from the last 2 to 3 years, just a random compilation of stuff that we've done over the last 3 years. So it's a bunch of bullet points at the end. I'm sure missed a whole bunch of things. We kind of talked about this yesterday, I think about all the things that we've worked on, the water treatment plant and increasing the water rates, which is something we talked about yesterday and is more recent, to all the way back to, demoing the 9th Street house. It's like a big effort for we live. Making a decision about undergrounding utilities, whether or not we were going to move that project or not. So this is just a little bit of a outline, I guess, and we might use it later too.
All right, do we need to do anything official to call things to order? No, we're good. Your opinion?
I don't know, it's a pretty official guy.
Are we officially
Yeah.
official to start?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. Well, good morning. Welcome back. Excited to be here with you on a Friday. Again, Josh and I are delighted to get out of the rain for those guys. I don't know, maybe we'll see some of that in Portland this weekend. Recentering on our experience. I've got a little, as we did yesterday, a little meditation for this morning. So let's go ahead and start by getting ourselves grounded. Deep breath in and out. That's the sound of making it to day 2. Welcome. You survived the icebreakers, the sticky notes, and at least one moment yesterday when you thought, wait, what are we talking about? This or that? You did it, you're here. You get bonus points for being upright and caffeinated, ready to start the day. So before we jump back into strategy mode, let's pause for just a moment of presence. And take another slow breath in. Fill up your lungs. And exhale whatever mental clutter you carried in with you this morning. Let's remember what we started yesterday, reconnecting to purpose, to community, to each other. And today is about shaping what comes next. The ideas, goals, and possibilities that will guide us for the next 3 to 4 years. Picture this: council, staff, teammates as the writers of the next chapter. You've got a fresh page, you've got a good story already in motion, and you've got the shared intention to make the next part even better. A little bolder, a little clearer, and maybe even a little more fun. So one more deep breath in. And your feet on the ground, your shoulders drop, your brain starts to wake up in a calm and capable way. You're exactly where you need to be, ready to create, ready to collaborate, and ready to keep laughing along the way. Okay. Let's get started. Day 2, the sequel to our story. Sasha has a little warm-up for you this morning, so I will let her introduce that.
Good morning.
And have a little fun with.
Yeah, I heard someone talking about this yesterday and I was like, that would be interesting. And so I want us to go around the room and I want us to share a nickname that people call you outside of this room that people might not know about. So a nickname that you grew up with, a nickname that you have for yourself, or people that have for you. And if they are too inappropriate, then it's a very different one. Amy mentioned yesterday, she's like, mine's not appropriate for this room.
And we'll use that.
So I'll start off. So one, my dad called me sis. He's always called me sis. I'm one of 4 girls and I does this. And then I grew up with the name SJ. And so my maiden name was Johnson, Sasha Johnson. So SJ was my nickname all through like grade school, middle school, high school. And then that Sandra Bullock movie came out and there was the kid named SJ and I thought it was so cool. So okay, who wants to start?
I will,
Go for it, Amy. I was gonna add tag because we know you have one.
but I'm not gonna use that one. It's
Okay.
too long of a story. I don't really have many nicknames for people in the past. Call me Aim, Aimstress, Aimster. Different things like that. That's hard to shorten, Amy.
Oh, we should have had them like reading their name tags.
Oh.
Amester. We can still do that. I'll pass out markers.
All right, Amester, thank you. Jeff?
Might be the same. Unless I'm in trouble, my mom called me Jeffrey.
Okay, yeah, that's all, the serious parent like using your full name.
No one ever called you J-Dog, nothing like that.
Should. You are now. I've been called a few inappropriate.
Say, I call you airport Jeff, so there's that.
I didn't really have any nicknames growing up. I was one of the Meyer twins that was kind of growing up, so.
You're a twin? Okay.
Oh, I just.
Did everyone know that she was a twin?
Yes,
You didn't, okay.
I had both of them at school. I know, yeah.
Yeah, could you tell them apart? All right, that's good. Okay.
Is it an identical twin? Okay. Yep, she,
Sometimes my kids call me by my Instagram handle, which is EA2, and they can pull and number 1, not a cool one.
okay, great.
I don't want to call Scotty Dog, sometimes Scooter.
Oh, yeah.
My sister's here with Scotty and we call her Scooter, so, yeah.
I've been called Stonewall.
Stonewall?
People have told me that they can't tell what I'm thinking, so especially on Zoom. meeting. So
Okay,
yeah, they call me
all right, so now if you don't know what Brenda's saying, you can just call her Stonewall, and she'll enlighten
I'm not playing poker.
you. Probably what challengers they
Stonewall.
give.
Wouldn't advise it, except that I don't know how to play poker, so.
So there's that.
But I don't believe that for a second.
This is how it starts.
Feel free to update your two cents, same thing about a game of pool.
Okay,
When I was in first grade, we had 4 Richards. Teacher wanted to make a distinction between the departments, so she labeled us Richard, Rich, Richie, and Dick. I thought, please don't call me. I ended up being Richie, so I was Richie for
all the way through.
college.
All right.
So, I, like, in the Marine Corps and after the Marine Corps, like, working in contracts overseas and whatnot, I had a reputation for getting things done. Sometimes my buddies would tell me that, like, that was pretty awesome when full Chewbacca. And, there's a whole litany of stories that we can probably break bread, but have zero, but
About the Chewbacca moments.
yeah, so I've forever been known as Chewy.
And I love that, I'm gonna call you Chewy all day, because that's what you put on your YouTube. All right, Josh.
I think I've heard, Chandler Bing, Chandy Candy. I've been trying to push Jay Money for years. So I think.
Shannon Bing, this says so much about you. I agree.
And my last name is Wobber. So in school, some twice in behind. So yeah, that's what they call Wobber.
Rubberneck.
Rubber.
Creative.
I saved enough space. When I was 4 or 5, something single digit, there was a cartoon that's on. This is like a weird retro flash party. And I remember walking into the kitchen, being maybe 5, and being kind of subtle when I asked my folks, how do people change their names? Process, but I was like, yeah, I like Flash. I think that's pretty cool. Every once in a while, only within the family, if we get together, it's when things sort of elder child or something. But Flash. He's supposed to.
All right.
When I was in, my last name's Mills, so yeah, but you like the General Mills. So it just stuck.
Sure, we see he's changed the presidents. Oh, Matthew did that.
So I was a principal for a lot of years and
McLaughlin is just too long to spell in the bathroom stall. So it's Mac Steaks, or I don't know, steak. Anyway, my mom called me TJ, and when I walk into hometown, I'm Tim.
Main Street Matt.
Main Street Matt. Do say more.
Well, I think probably a lot of people may know where it comes from, but I used to run the Dalles Main Street program when I was
Okay.
there for Rare.
Okay.
I don't know actually. But it follows almost to this day. It's trying to translate to the city, municipal Matt, metropolitan Matt.
Doesn't have the same. Doesn't have the
Doesn't have the
same.
same. True.
You ever move it, you ever moved to like Portland?
Then I can, yeah.
Yeah.
Main Street Matt six.
Okay.
I don't really have them, but I do get questioned about Chip and Dan. Where's Chip?
That always brings to mind the Saturday Night Live skit, which I will not say anything more about, you see me. All right, I guess well, now that you guys all shared, I feel like I have to share. So growing up, I too had the nickname, because my mom called me that, so my brothers called me, my three brothers, they called me that, but then my mom also, moms are great. I feel like now I'm failing as mom, because I've yet to give my kids really great nicknames, but I probably do have a couple for them. My mom also called me Sarah Sue, even though that is not my middle name. I think she just liked the alliteration of it, and so she, like, my high school friends heard it, and then when they did this be at college, my college friends heard it, and like everybody thought that legit was my name. I moved to California, and people would come out to visit, and like all my California friends thought that was my name. And I think the only place it hasn't like really caught on has been Oregon. I think I maybe finally shaded it, but people remind you whenever you come back that they think it's never really, only it's not, but not quite. Not quite. So yeah, that's funny. Okay. Main Street Matt, let's do it. Agenda review for day 2. So yesterday, our goals for the workshop, develop a foundation for the strategic plan. So well on our way for our mission, our vision. Today, we're going to talk about values, refinement of existing goals to align with the 3 to 5 year horizon. We started our work with that yesterday, starting to understand your priorities towards the end of the day, which helps me kind of craft our exercise for today. Also thinking about where you guys are in the goals that have been underway for the last year. So today we'll be continuing our refinement work of that. And then the last piece of the day today will be around identifying the council priorities. So after we get those goals refined for a 3 to 5 year horizon, figuring out what the desired outcomes are in each goal area, we'll prioritize those outcomes and where does the council want to focus their energy over the next year to be able to hopefully streamline some of this work. Not to say that work won't happen on the other things in the strategic plan, but really understanding where council wants to spend their time so that the work plan feels more manageable and doesn't drive staff towards burnout or the council towards burnout, or even the community towards burnout when you think about all the things you need to keep the community engaged as well. So that's what we have planned for today. So we'll jump back into our goal development work. We'll have a break at 10 o'clock, and then after the break, I'm hopeful we'll be ready for diving into the council priorities, and then spending a good hour plus on that, and then getting into our values discussion to wrap up our day. What's going to guide us in implementing the goals? Sound good? Can you adjust anything? Okay, one of the requests from yesterday before we jumped into our goal development, just kind of getting back into our context piece, was you guys asked about accomplishments from the last year, and Matthew had, because he's such a prepared city manager, a list of things already. And so he printed that and passed it around at the beginning. And I'm just going to let him say a few words about that list and maybe highlight a few things that maybe have been really meaningful for the organization or things that stand out in his mind. And then if there's anything else missing from that list, let us know. And I know one of the questions posed yesterday, and maybe Matthew can touch on this, if it feels relevant, do any of these accomplishments have any unintended consequences that we should consider as far as context for today's discussion? So is it leading to any other work? Is it presenting any new challenges that we should be thinking about as we get into our goal? While we start that, I'm gonna turn this off back here, so we don't have some background noise.
Yeah, so as I was saying, like, there's no like rhyme or reason or order to this in terms of like when it happened or the priority of it. But I really tried to, and again, Amy and I were kind of working on this to try and capture just those, the bigger highlights, and certainly not everything. Over the last 3 or 4 years. And so that was kind of the timeline that we're looking at. One of the things I do, and I don't know if everybody knows, but I think a lot of you have seen a crazy whiteboard in my office. Every month or so, I take a picture of it, print it out, 3-hole punch it, and put it in a binder. You can kind of flip through it. And on that whiteboard are all different major projects in each of the departments to kind of keep track and keep on the radar. On the right-hand side are the draft city council agendas that we kind of plan for the year. So I have a binder in my office that's kind of building those different pictures, and you can kind of sift through it. You'll see things that come up and then drop off, and that's kind of how we create this brainstorm. I think just to your question, Sarah, maybe the biggest piece that comes out to me is, some of the maybe kind of 3 things, I guess. There's kind of the one and done initiatives like demoing the street house. There's the ongoing efforts like the local government academy. That's something we hope to offer every year. Or like the support that we've given to the Gloria Center, for example. But then I think there's also a few of these that are maybe a singular bullet point, but they represent a tremendous amount of work to actually move forward and implement. And a lot of those have to do with the plan. Josh yesterday spoke a little bit to the housing production strategy and how that single bullet point there, it's not done. We have the strategies report, but the action items that we want to make sure we follow through on and deliver on, and it doesn't just sit on the shelf for 8 years worth of work. The other example, obviously, is the different public works kind of master plans. And so I guess to your other question about like which ones are the highlights, I mean, they kind of all are, because that's what I kind of pulled out. And then, like I said at the end, there are bullet points that are blank because it's not a good thing. There are some that have major implications that forward, such as the master plans, and there are others that were kind of weird, I guess. And I think the example that comes to mind of that one is, we had a couple different council meetings and we had a representative from the OHA come and present to us about psilocybin. And we haven't heard much of that since then, but we did spend time and effort thinking about what that meant for this community and having conversations around it and trying to inform. And so there was no like deliverable with that, I guess, per se, but it's still something that we worked on and we tried to be thoughtful.
I was going to comment on that one. Is that what you fed the council before city council meetings?
Never. Never. I mean, you asked me to do that, but I declined.
That would make for it.
Well.
All right, other questions for Matthew, other accomplishments that you feel are not reflected in this list, or anything you want to highlight or point out?
The execution, implementation of our nuisance ordinance in one case, and then the revision of it. This was a lot of work and time, let's see that on here.
The nuisance ordinance?
About 3/4 way down on the first page. Just says nuisance ordinance, but yeah, you're right.
It's a big one.
Direction on the Ninth Street house being one and done. It's still under construction down there right now. That's been forever.
Right.
I think another's that downtown parking study. Oh, right, man. We had a lot of pickups along the way, or maybe change of management, but city and communities opening the college shop COVID and was singular in the history of the Dalles.
What was it?
Singular, it was kind of unthinkable that we would open like
Oh, a shelter.
yeah, and it had like it's rough patches, but it also opened the idea that we could take action on something that's useful to work on.
Anything else? You want to make sure it's mentioned? Okay. Well, next thing I want to just visit before we get into the goals, because it will be helpful in crafting a refined statement, is I took some of the themes from your conversation around mission yesterday and just put together an initial statement that I think is okay, but I purposely kind of make it just okay so that it generates some conversation, because I want you to pull it apart a little bit and be really critical of it. You're not gonna hurt my feelings. So that we can really make it something that fits for the Dalles. So if we could just spend a few minutes looking at this purple text here, trying to mash up all the themes that came in here yesterday. We serve, and again, mission is supposed to focus on these things: why you exist, who you serve, how you make their lives better. It should touch on your unique role, you know, why you're essential, and kind of, if somebody were to read this, I'd really be able to understand what the community is if the city organization went away. So when we look at this, we serve our community through leadership, partnership, and delivery of infrastructure and services that protect life, health, and safety for every generation. How does that make you feel? Is it reflective of what you think about your organization? Is it too long? Is it too short? And all the departments see themselves in this? Reactions?
I mean, it's a little long for my liking, and by saying every generation as an out piece on that, you could just say everyone,
Yeah,
like generations overly emphasizes age rather than any other class.
yeah, I get you can out of that, like for, you know, like for now and for the future.
I still like by working together, comma, we serve our community through leadership. It just implies action, collective action by working together.
And again, I'm putting notes up here just to capture your comments. I'm not necessarily looking for you to wordsmith it, but just to share kind of the feelings that it evokes, or things, you know, reactions that we can use to help refine it.
I think the key words, we serve our community, those 4 words, we serve our community, and then of course the explanation we have below that. But we all have examples where we can point to and say how we serve, like this list. But also, I just saw something last night that I was interested in, the library. Kind of unexpected, has a pantry in their foyer right now for suffered from staff benefit cut off. So that's kind of interesting to have that, those types of things you can point to and say, yeah, we serve. It's not just empty words.
That's actually from my lunch.
So much of what we do is creating opportunity for everybody in this community.
Okay,
There's just. Each of our departments. Create an opportunity.
Yeah, I think it's important to protect what we have. I think it's also important. How things go.
I think it's uniquely hard to come up with a city mission statement that puts the same. Captures what we want, just because our mission is so much broader than like a school district. You know, parks are like.
Yeah.
Cities like, and 7 other things, you know, which, I mean, that's just the nature of it,
is there anything? Yeah, so I do feel like city mission statements can get really broad. Do you feel like there's? I mean, this could be a mission statement for any city. What would make, is there something that would make it unique to the Dalles? That it's like identifies like who you are as a community or?
yeah, that was a long sort of politician's preliminary to my actual comment.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Semi-colon, my mind, probably, Brian. Capture in that mass one is, sort of a high standard of excellence we have set our city government. I think, I can't say that's new compared to 20 or 30 years ago or 10 years ago. It feels new. High standard of excellence in its service, its thoughtfulness, its infrastructure. It's hopefully in this council, hopefully we've becoming more thoughtful and functional and engaged. So just setting a really high standard and then setting a really inclusive standard, which it was not been a hallmark of the city. I feel like we've found lots of ways to divide ourselves and get ticked off at the other guy on the other side of the street, on the other side of the town, cross color, hasn't been here long enough, whatever. I feel like that's something the city government can't leave, like getting past that, building stripes.
Okay. And that, I mean, does that feel, is that unique to the Dalles? Would you say, or something?
It has to be unique. No, it definitely has.
Okay,
Maybe the other towns that find themselves, I don't know. Doesn't matter.
okay,
I think something that came up in conversations yesterday is that the Dalles for millennia has been a hub of economic activity, and so. And that we brought into our mission statement in some way.
yeah. Yeah, we talked about this. It's crossroads, it's this, because of where it's situated, it's has created this. Okay. Okay. Anything else? Yeah, just this gives good, this is helpful feedback as we think about how we're applying.
One thing that's missing from it is like working to not just deliver infrastructure and services, protect health and safety for everyone, but improving it.
All right, anything else?
We had talked about the three, our small group, the 3 core services were infrastructure, safety, and third one was community development.
Oh, yeah,
That might come with improving the community expense that might come from the community development.
infrastructures, safety. And
Is there a plain language for the community development? Is there like.
putting it in more basic than that.
Okay.
I don't know. I think community development is interesting, to so many different things, to right? This is like for Josh, community development could be planning to actually develop and build something, but to Rich, it's like even beautification, parks, like that, so I don't know.
And
Good
just,
question.
and really around engagement too. I've heard people talk about it in terms of that, like how you're really.
Yeah.
I think one thing we talked a lot about yesterday was around people who choose to come here and have a family to invest. And people choose, who are from here, who choose to stay. And so I feel like there's an element there about, and that in essence, you know, a community where people choose to stay and invest. And we're not, you know, we don't have local, like my kids who were raised here, trying to get out. And have an influx of people come in.
You're saying that's a goal or?
I think that's just like part of the vision of our community.
Oh, yes, it's like a goal or.
Yeah.
It might tie,
Isn't this fair enough?
it might tie into a value or into a vision. So it's
Yeah.
another thing. Could go either way.
Like I like the attitude to not be, I got stuck here, or I ended up here.
Yeah,
No, I chose to stay here, or I chose to come here.
Or, yeah, and I'm thinking of Ben's comment actually yesterday about similar place where like my house. I don't want that to be the attitude.
ChatGPT gave me some plain language options for community development. I don't know that they encompass everything, but one of them is helping our community grow and thrive. Another is working for positive change where we live. I don't know that it really encompasses everything, but there's a couple.
yeah,
Maybe Ben's right, that the phrase is multifaceted enough that it's something to keep you to captures a couple of things. Several things in two.
okay. All right, well, this is helpful feedback. Anything else that anybody wants to mention before we move on from this? Okay, so yesterday we talked about some vision elements and I'm not creating a vision statement yet because I want to see how our whole areas shake out, but do you think this is what we want to stay in alignment with this as far as, you know, this is what you do? And this is where we want to go. We want to have public trust and support and understanding. We want to, in 3 to 5 years, we want better infrastructure resiliency. We want to be a top place to work that delivers top service. We want to be an attractive place to live and thrive, providing opportunities for all. And we want to establish a shared identity for the Dalles. These are things we want for the future. Yes? Okay. Then we started having some conversation around existing goals. And based on all of the discussion, I asked you guys to kind of highlight your top priorities. And so I was thinking about what has changed or what's shifted. So that screen doesn't have to see my back here. So economic development is not a specific goal area now, but it was definitely central to what we talked about yesterday in the visioning exercise. So I pulled it out as its own theme. Right now you have a goal around public relations. But we talked more in your vision stories, you talked more in terms about it of building trust. And then when I asked you to highlight your thoughts and ideas around it, it was more around, the language was more around communications and engagement. So I extracted that as a theme. You have a goal area of livability, which I feel to some degree it can be a catch-all. So I was asked, I'm going to ask you to consider thinking about it maybe in more specific terms, but it has to feel right to you. If livability really feels like the right way to capture the goal, that's okay. But some of the things in there are really related to health and safety of your community. So I see it, some of your like parks, maybe trail connections, the work around public safety, maybe even some of the work around the houselessness. Could end up in a goal around health and safety. So I think that's something we need to zero in on before you can develop outcomes is what does this include? Infrastructure feels really straightforward. You guys have a goal around infrastructure right now. It was the main theme. We talked about it's in your vision. We want good infrastructure resiliency. So that one is just there. Housing didn't come up as one of your, it did. There were a couple folks that put housing as a top priority, but it's an existing goal area. There's a big body of work around it. So it feels like that body of work is not stopping. In some instances, it's mandated by the state and it takes up a lot of your capacity. And there's some big policy choices that were highlighted yesterday that need continued work and effort. So I left that as an area. And then this one, technology was a big thing that we talked about yesterday. And the chief highlighted AI that should be represented somewhere in a strategic plan. There's other things though that we talked about. It's like being a best place to work. And I know that there's work that you guys are doing as an organization and thinking about the continued growth of the Dalles. How does the organization grow and evolve? We think about things like compensation studies and recruitment and retention efforts and technology is a component of that. Technology could also be a component of infrastructure. So I don't know if it's its own thing. I don't know if it's part of infrastructure or if it's, there's also something to consider like a modernized workplace or maybe the goal areas around being the best place to work. But I do feel like having a goal area, because this is a strategic plan for the organization and there's lots of work around how you want to, that's a central part of your vision. So there should be a place in your goals to capture that body of work that the organization's going to spend time on. So thoughts on how I organize this? We could start with, is anything missing? Did I miss anything? You don't want to have too many goal areas because it's hard to keep track of and it starts to get a little convoluted.
Appreciate your trying to get down to more actionable livability. That one may kind of be like property that comes out of all the other goals. It's some into my own mind, I mentioned yesterday, like the Dalles having a sense of inferiority complex. And a lot of choices in the last X decades feel like we're like good enough. We can do like whatever, good enough. And yeah, we'll put the industrial area right down there because it's flat and it's good enough. We don't have to worry too much about how we don't need to build a new school. Anyway, our new school is 20 years old and it's good enough. And to my mind, like changing that attitude culturally from like it's good enough at the city. Yeah, it doesn't make sense, but whatever, which that is. But and changing from that to like, we want to do it. Maybe that's an emergent property, maybe it's not its own thing, but that's kind of what livability gets at. It's like it's okay to do things, or it's important to do things for the city that make it a nice place to live and work. And that's important.
Yeah.
And it's not like fluffy side things. No, that's important. People have to have a good workplace and do good work and be proud of it. I don't know if that's a.
Yeah, I feel like some of the things that you're touching on, this idea of excellence, because you brought it up earlier in the vision too, or these high standards. I feel like that's starting to come out here in the vision, and another place where to make sure that it applies to everything, I think it would be really pertinent to have as part of our values discussion. Because the values really should be the lens through which you're working, through which you're implementing all of these goals. Like, we're not going to settle for just good enough. Like when staff is approaching this work, when council is approaching policy work, like let's think about how we can really elevate and raise the bar. And so I hear you, and I think that there's a couple of areas in this structure where we can really highlight that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Josh and then Chewy.
I know the council has
has emphasized housing. I think housing is pushed, down as counter throws from the state. That's real, it's a real thing. I wonder though, not to try to fit it into another larger category. I mean, housing does come down to livability. You know, when we look at like breaking out the goal of housing, as we talked about the housing production strategy, we have all these tasks baked into that. I mean, a couple of those are listed, specifically called out in HBS, but to say every year it's going to be housing, we're just going to list the goals that we're going to complete in the housing production strategy every year. You're just going to see that continue on. But I think housing, separate us' thoughts on it. It's very much part of the mobility box. I thought there, and then the other one when it comes to like modernized workplace, the best place to work. I think the modernized workplace not only for the employees here, but if there's any carve out for it could go along with the technology, but for the customer as well. The customer experience needs to improve. And we're only doing as good as we can if it's working for the customer as well. So streamlining processes. That's not fitting into the box exactly. I just wouldn't want like the housing, I know they'll count for the focus and when this document comes out and we look at the actual goals. I don't want to necessarily rush housing into this other category that's potentially lost to make it look like it's not as much of a key focus the council's having, but I think by itself, my opinion is that we may need to add or two just in the housing. Because as I talked about before, there's so much that the government can do on the side of housing. It's a real partnership with the side. We can break down all the barriers we want. It's still going to come down to financing and it's going to come down to private development. So we all want to see housing built, I know that, but unless we're, go out there and start, putting doors on the ground, then it's that real partnership, I think, to play into it. We will always say that housing is a key priority. I think that's gonna, no matter if no matter how far forward you go in the future, housing is always going to be a priority.
Okay.
So,
So. So yesterday and a little bit like sitting here this morning, I think livability is really one of the vision elements. I don't know that it's like specific bucket. Because everything up there speaks to livability, right? Like the infrastructure of the city and things like that. One of the other things that I keep thinking about, I know Matthew's heard this from me and I shared it with you during our one-on-ones, like these things all have to be like turned into tasks and tangible actions that people can evaluate and do something, right? So like if we think about, I'll pick on housing, it's probably the more difficult one, right? So there's specific tasks that get mandated from state level to us, right? And those are just, that's like keeping up with it and doing our job, right? But what other things can we do that like our city manager can go to a department head of the city and be like, hey, like, go do this thing, right? So, because I like my thought process is always like, what's the situation? What are the potential tasks to deal with the situation? Those turn into actions and then there's a result, right? If I can't get those 4 things down, it's like, for me, it's like it turns into a vision. And then the last thing I was thinking, well, Josh was talking. So the modernized workplace, best place to work.
I didn't know what to call that, so these are items.
I wanted to, sure, but I think, I think that. I think that the word that's missing at the end, maybe it's like a second bullet point, is work with, right? So a
Oh.
modernized workplace, best place, or best organization to work with is, it's like what keeps coming up, I think.
I mean, like people start to. Right.
Oh, wait, the chief and then the mayor and then Bryce.
So are we talking about goals or vision here? What is?
So, yeah, this is, in the center here, this is the vision, desired future state. These are the goal, these would be the goal areas.
Got it.
And I'm trying, because I want to make sure we settle on these goal areas before we can talk about what are the outcomes in these goal areas to really further define them.
You asked if there was anything missing.
Yeah.
And I do think that fiscal responsibility and sustainability of the city is really important.
Okay.
There. So we have to be accountable to, I mean, we can have anything and everything, but we gotta, right? So-
Yeah, and well, I mean, this is a good place to bring this in. It could be part of the vision. It could be its own goal area. It also could be a value, again, and over like thinking about excellence, fiscal responsibility, sustainability should be something that guides the implementation of all of this. So I don't know if you have a thought on where you feel like it belongs. But it should be represented somewhere up there. I'm gonna put it up there and we can talk about where it belongs later. Mayor, what did you want to add?
Something really specific, and I think it's so very critical too. Sure. And it's something that's been very frustrating for everybody. It's just one roadblock after another. That's the Tony's lot. I think that's so important that they somehow, because it really speaks to so much of almost yellow sheets of it. Yeah. It's a livability issue, it's an economic development issue, it's a housing issue.
Which block?
The Tony's lot.
Oh, the Tony's lot.
Yeah, which is right next to the plaza. I would like to see urban renewal, if this is purely an urban renewal decision, I'd like to see that the city council needs to get involved in. I like to have a total evaluation. Whether or not fiscal part of that project is so important that we cannot consider other uses of that property that do not involve increasing the financial increment of that. Everybody understand what I'm talking about?
Maybe the last part.
Well, we've always depended. Urban renewal has always been dependent on tax increment financing. And the value of that lot has to, in theory, has to increase financially to make it worth, I mean, that's what urban renewal is all about. But if we can afford not to make that block something that increases the financial increment for urban renewal, I'd like to see us consider uses that do not necessarily increase the income.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it would be helpful for the agency board to hear, maybe come speak at the
I'd
next
like
meeting
to,
to talk
yeah.
about that, and I'll just say as the attorney for the agency I would say, right? That notion of tax credit financing applies to the district as a whole. And it doesn't necessarily need to apply to every parcel of land in the district. So long as the applied system.
Two things I'm thinking specifically about would be maybe the carousel project. And the other one would be expanding the Federal Street Plaza, expanding it to the east to make it a larger plaza.
Not bad ideas, but that's exactly what gets us in trouble with giving away properties that are purchased for like $1. Very insignificant amount of money.
Yeah, this would be insignificant, but I think it would be something that the public, to the extent it's conservative. I think the carousel and the plaza are two projects that are very popular. So
I'm gonna say, if you will, I think this is valuable discussion. we shouldn't maybe have a specific meeting to go through that into detail. I also think that 10 years from now, we're not be looking back at that as a vision of the city, a project that ran successfully. So maybe that's more of a goal and like a vision.
I put it kind of off to the side of economic development, it's related to economic development, and it's also related to livability. I mean, you could probably put it in different categories,
But
but
it's
so
a
we all,
project, it's a project, it's a course, it's not like a vision.
yeah, it's adjacent, and so I feel like you guys need to talk about that, maybe there's an outcome around it, so I don't wanna lose it, but it's a little bit more specific than some of the other things we're talking about. I wanna come back to Brenda,
So under the best place to work, and maybe it ends up being like organization of choice, both for employees and partners, and the customers, but I think a lot about, how we are or are not investing in our staff and planning for the future. So I know from a recruitment and retention standpoint, professional development opportunities comes up, and how are we looking at those? How are we planning for the future leadership? And, you know, so really thinking about that and maybe prioritizing that, like when I look at our current budget and I look at what is allocated for citywide training versus some other line items, I wonder if they're prioritizing it for.
yeah, I think that could be an outcome that gets identified as part of this, and I'm gonna put you guys in some work groups to help define them, so Brenda, it would make a lot of sense for you to be a part of that. Okay, and then we'll talk about all of it as a group to make sure everybody's. Technology, again, it's related to customer experience, process improvement, again, just like a modern workplace, being an organization of, or if you want to call it organization of choice for both employees and partners. Does technology feel like it's nested in the right area, or does it feel like it's more of an infrastructure investment?
I actually think that it could be, it should be up in a capital project infrastructure, you know, truthfully, because it has trickle downs, like it's connected there, but I actually think that it goes much more with infrastructure. We can't do business without it.
Anybody have other opinions on that?
I can see that argument, and one of the conversations yesterday was about what if we build up internet across the community. And somebody made the comment that internet is infrastructure. So
Yeah.
how does that relate then back to livability, bringing people in?
Okay. All right. Do we feel like we've got housing? I hear Josh saying livability, it does connect to livability. I feel like all of this connects to livability. Any strong opinions on whether it's its own goal area with outcomes versus not? The reason again, reflecting on the conversation yesterday, we kind of started talking about some of this. There is a lot of work that's happening, that's ongoing in the realm of housing. But then I also was reflecting on the community survey results. And it was one of the things, if it's like a housing affordability is a top thing that you're always going to be working on. So one thing, by identifying something in your strategic plan, it elevates it from a messaging standpoint to the community, and this is something that you're working on. So I hesitated to put it into like group it somewhere else because it says that it's important and that you're working on it to the community. So. Okay. What do they say? Say 7? I don't know. Don't do it. Sasha's like, you are not cool. I know, and I just did this. I just put my hands like this and could not help but think about it. It's stuck in my head. We don't know what it means. It means nothing.
It means nothing. There's no substance to it. It literally.
Which is great, housing, I don't know. So.
I think just one thing, like, if we're gonna move something think we're gonna get stuck with mobility. There's a concern that mobility is, as a goal, is too amorphous. You know, we had some conversations about mobility, it's more along the lines of like, what do we say, safe, resilient, thriving, which connects with some of these different pieces. So I just, if we're gonna move housing under livability with some of those concerns you just expressed, coupled with our concerns about the word livability itself. Enthusiasts.
Let's work with it here and see, yeah, Chief.
I actually don't mind. Yeah, it's a little bit of a catch-all, but that's like, just clean streets, the sidewalks that aren't broken, trees around. I mean, it's a place that catches a lot of the nice parts about living in town. And so, I mean, I think you're saying it's too generalized.
It can be, I mean, yeah, you guys can keep livability, you don't have to listen to me, and I advise and throw it out. Yeah,
For me, economic development and livability tie in really strongly, because if you don't have a strong economy in town, people aren't getting good paying jobs where they can afford houses.
Yeah.
The tax base.
sorry, I wanna focus on what Frida's saying.
I mean, if you don't have a strong economy, you don't have good paying jobs, people can't buy houses. Tax base goes down, people don't have school bonds. And so if you don't have that economic vitality, then you don't have a livable city.
Yeah,
100% agree, absolutely. And I guess I would say, yes, and, not a disagreement, yes, and we spend a lot of time in economic development. I've spent a lot of hours figuring out how to get money to developers to increase economic development. We do that, that is like baked in. We have to have that, and it's proper. Because you're right, that's like the foundation, you won't have them jobs. To do everything.
Do we have a way to report that to the city? Does the city actually get to see the benchmarks of, hey, we accomplished this within housing? Is there a robust process behind that helps validate all the work that you can do and we do?
For economic development.
For any of these categories, I mean, I think that's one of the metrics that people look at.
well, I think that's one of the things that we're gonna be working towards in this iteration of the plan is to help identify what are the outcomes, and then in the development of the plan and working with staff is actually developing some indicators, measures of progress, so that it's easier to tell the story back to them. So that's not all we're gonna be able to get through all that today, but we have to have, in order to get this to the next step, we have to have some clear goal areas. And we need to understand the clear outcomes that the council wants to see in these goal areas. So I feel like, economic development, you guys don't have to stick with these titles. Economic development sometimes can feel too constraining or can carry connotations that, are just like, oh, we do this for developers or we do this with developers. I see it a little bit bigger than that, and there's some notes over there from yesterday and how you described it in your vision story. So what I want to do is break you guys into small groups. I want somebody to work on this, and so whoever's really interested in this topic, please pay attention to what I'm about to say. Economic development, I see it as, it's about jobs, it's about diversifying your economy, it's about opportunities for living wages, stabilization, retention of existing businesses, collaborating with your partners, seizing mediation opportunities, thinking about your downtown and the beautification efforts. Those are things that make people want to come here and stay here and invest here. I also, there's this big piece about what the school district and education is a significant part of economic development, workforce training and development, making sure that people who grow up in the Dalles or that young people who are living here are equipped with the skills they need to be productive members of society. And so the school district key element of it, but if you all decide that there's something that you want to do in support of whatever education looks like in the future of the Dalles, could nest in this goal area. So whether you want to summarize that as economic development as a title, we can get into the semantics of that later, but that's the essence of this goal area. So when you think about outcomes that you're trying to deliver in this area, that's that. In this one, you could put livability back in there. That's okay. And
Please, but I vote.
whatever makes sense. Let's leave it here for now as you define your outcome, or as you define outcomes for this area. And let's leave it here. And I think let's leave housing separate for a second. I think it's gonna help us to figure out, does it nest here? Or does it stay on its own? And if we work in small groups and start to develop some outcomes and have some stuff for discussion, I think it'll help us it'll make it easier for us to decide how that should be organized. Technology will put in infrastructure, so when you think about your infrastructure outcomes, there should be some stuff related in there to technology. You can look back at your notes from yesterday and how you talked about it in our context conversations. And then when we think about this, I don't know what we're gonna call this yet. I think if we define some outcomes for it, we might have a better sense of how we want to summarize it. But it's about all of these things, okay? Fiscal responsibility and sustainability, I see it living maybe here in the vision or in your values, or maybe both. And then communications and engagement. This is about building public trust, all the things you wrote back there. It's about telling your story. It's about the work that's been happening under public relations. So those things nest there. And when you think about anything related to houselessness, again, recognizing that that is one of the things that was highlighted as a top thing from the community perspective. I think maybe talk about it here. But I think it's a lot of it's around like public safety, connecting people with resources, about thinking about what's the city's role in that, and it has a real big impact for folks on livability. So I think that we ask whoever is in this group that you would consider that as part of your conversation. Okay. Can we do this? In 30 minutes, can we have some conversation around what should be the outcome in these goal areas? We can do it. Yes. Yes. Okay. Who's going to work on this category, this economic development, or whatever we're going to call it? Who's in there? Airport Jeff, Rita. All right, the three of you are working together on that. Where do you guys want to work? We're going to gather.
No,
We'll see you in a week. Please send notes. Okay, you guys want to work? That's a nice table out there.
Yeah.
Okay. Take some Post-its.
Yes.
Thank you, and some markers, and come up with at least 3 to 4 outcomes for that particular goal area. Who's gonna work on health, safety, livability? I hope the chief, Jonathan. I definitely wanted to call you the president, yeah,
No.
Tim. Okay, where are you guys gonna work? Where are you gonna gather? Pick a spot, grab some Post-its.
We'll get some fresh air off the hallway.
Hallway, great. Let's see, infrastructure and technology. Yes, David, great, Dale. Brenda,
It's in my portfolio and
Like concern.
IT directors in here. I know.
can you guys work on both of these areas? Okay. Work on both of these areas, because I think Brenda, you also, or I don't know, maybe Matthew's gonna,
I was gonna wait till the end.
you're gonna wait till the end. Okay, stay here for a second. Let's not, before we, okay, housing. Scott and Josh are gonna work on that.
Sarah, I'll be right back.
Okay. All right, so then this one. We're, the organization. Who do we have left? I think Matthew, you guys wanna work? You guys wanna work on this? We'll leave Brenda and their group to work on this one?
Sure, but only.
But you didn't do communications yet.
Oh, oh my
That's
gosh.
what I want.
Okay, why don't, okay, good,
I
why don't,
actually think they go together.
yes, so, the three of you, why don't you guys do communications and engagement and this one?
Okay.
And we'll leave up to David, Brenda, and Dale to work on infrastructure and technology.
I'll be right there.
Okay.
We'll meet over here.
All right. I'm gonna mute us here.
that'll be
Are they out there? Will you-
Uh-oh.
Great. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Home stretch, guys. Okay, so I broke you into your groups to have some more conversation about the outcome, about these goal areas and the outcome. And really looking forward to what came out of those conversations. We'll have the groups report out and then talk about those as a group and make sure we all feel good about the outcomes and so that everything's covered in there. This is a strategic plan, so it's also very organizationally focused, but I do want to make sure that council is in support of the outcome. So if there's anything that gets up there that council does not feel, there's not a majority, that there's not consensus or a majority of you, we need to flag that and maybe revisit it, stick it in the airport hangar for future discussion. Okay,
Not the public works shop, the airport.
the airport hangar. Okay, all right.
Would you put down a space for airport hangar to see it?
So-
If I get one of my ideas put in the hangar, I wanna see it on the paper.
That's another tool. We have, yeah, there's, I don't think there's one in the bag,
Oh, there isn't?
No. because it was too heavy, I took them out. I was just,
Feel like, no.
it's like, I would love to see you pull that out like Mary Poppins. There's not even- Okay.
Oh. What's that? Before we kick off with this, we missed Jonathan this morning, one of our warm-up questions.
Yeah.
We want to know what your nickname
Yeah.
is growing up, a nickname that you had that you can share with the group, because we all got to share our nicknames this morning.
I have like two examples.
Aimster, Airport Jet,
Not what we call you.
Chewy. I'm going off the ones that wrote them out.
I have one like that, because like Jonathan and John and Johnny, these are like pretty common names for kids and boys, right? Growing up, they're still pretty common. And so there was a couple different like Jonathans in our like world of friends. And I was known as Johnny Vallejo. Vallejo is like the name of the city that like I was born in.
Okay.
So that sort of stuck, even though I hate that place. So that was fun for like good friends, they call me Johnny Vallejo. To distinguish me from like Johnny Dublin or Dublin.
That's fun.
All right,
Thanks for sharing that. That's-
can't leave anybody out, that's been fine.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
The nickname conversation was a good one, I was
I had
skeptical.
one that too.
I was skeptical when Sasha was like, we should do that, and I was like, well, I don't know, so it was, anyway, then we'll start being known as Chewy, and I think that's great. Okay, where shall we go first in our land of the goals here? It's like Jeopardy, what would we like, where do you guys wanna go? Shall we do communications and engagement for 500?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
great,
Sarah.
okay, team, what'd you guys come up with? Here,
Does it have to be an elected official?
huh?
Does it have to be an elected official?
It doesn't have to be, I did not specify that for this particular one,
Sure,
but
Brandon.
you seem to have me posted, so.
Well,
You want me
it was-
to pass it along to somebody else, or you?
No, I was just thinking about Brenda. I think it's, everything was under control until she showed up.
That's kind of the story of the city at this point.
Merritt's the one on your right is the communication.
Okay. This one here, strategy for social media analysis, monitoring and response with. This is something I've been raising. And, you know, my thinking is, I think this is important and maybe the strategy is just to do things the way we've been doing them, but I think they should be more formalized and clear.
Okay.
More transparency with city projects and progress. I think we've been doing that, I mentioned that also over the last year. I think Amy's doing a perfect job of getting it out there on social media, especially, and with our website to talk about.
There's more we can do.
Yeah, well, for example, the Federal Street Plaza, the Google stuff, we can do, downtown projects.
Okay.
Taking that next step. Clarity of city Google impacts and tax information benefits. We specifically mentioned Google because of all the misinformation surrounding Google. And I mentioned to the group earlier today, I just want to, I told you yesterday, I've been on Facebook in 2 years. And yesterday I went on there. I saw the very nice story about Google and the SR and it was very well written, and it was a couple of things that were critical, but it was a fair article. But on Facebook, I went in there and they had 8 comments and all 8 were negative. And it was a really nice story.
Okay.
So concentration on Google. Reaching all audiences, the idea there is to reach out to all generations, for example, youth, senior citizens, and also all nationalities, specifically the Hispanic population, which has now grown to 20–25% of our population. These are more structured and helpful to audiences. I think that was the same thing as I just mentioned, the different audiences.
All right, I'll just. Okay, is that everything for this particular one?
That's everything for the communications and engagement. And now this is the one for.
Well, let's stick with communications and engagement for a second. First of all, any questions from the group around the ones that they've highlighted here?
Like the idea of like objective measurements. Trying to like organize it, make sure that there's some sort of analysis and monitoring moving forward is huge. I think that there's some like easy things to do, right? You can like watch your Instagram following grow and things like that, but it'd be interesting to see how an analysis of the effectiveness of the communications are benefiting the community.
Agreed.
That'll be also really difficult, but I think equally important.
But there's certain things we're doing that are measurable. Other things we're not. But for example, Matthew's 3-minute summary.
Yeah. 1 minute.
1 minute summary. It's pages. Yeah, I'm just blown away the number of responses you got. You said you got 5,200?
Yeah, the one before last at 5,500.
Yeah, so we can't measure a lot.
Views or comments?
Views. Comments are few and far between. Partly because we do somewhat restrict
We restrict
the
comments.
commenting on Facebook on Facebook page because of on some of the archived social elements, record elements, our ability to monitor. You know, if someone says something very inappropriate, it's kind of a question mark. You can delete it or not, or hide it, but retain it as a there's a spectrum of social media engagement.
Okay. I feel like as far as outcomes, some of these, like this is related. This to me feels like an outcome. Like we want to reach all of our audience, generations, nationalities, youth, seniors, and this is maybe a how, like a communications plan that's structured, that like is really targeted for like, do you have different tactics targeted for specific audiences? This could be, this is all, like, this also feels like a really solid outcome, like transparency with city projects in progress. And some of these things are kind of maybe tactics under that, of like, there's storytelling around Google, like more transparency around that. There's also, I don't know, this one could go in either, but this is pretty specific. It's a strategy for social media where you've got metrics tied to it, and it could be part of like a communications plan.
Something that came up yesterday was like partnerships and leadership and things like that.
Yeah,
in the
yes, that-
city. So curious if part of the communications and engagement
We should have
would
an
also
outcome.
be like communications and engagement from a leadership perspective to our partners in the community. Like, for like this local services, like homelessness thing, MCAC would be an obvious choice. There's others. And then the school district would be another one, right? Like the people, the groups and organizations we don't have direct
like maybe the outcome,
impact over, but we have influence. Yeah.
like intentional engagement with your partners.
Yeah, so not just like public outreach, but I was thinking about like partnership outreach.
That is a very actionable thing to do, is if we wanna have a meeting with the school board, or we want to have some sort of action that they're actually the school district, that like that's a goal that we could put on there for this year. And is that what we're talking about too? We're trying to get to
Well, we're gonna get to that, but in order for you guys to be able to prioritize outcomes, I just need to make sure we understand where the outcomes are. And this is helpful too. I think it gives staff additional direction on like some of the tactics that they need to associate with these outcomes as they do some of the work planning around it.
Thank you. I'd like that one when you're ready and get other people's feedback on whether to go forward.
Are you talking about like board joint meetings, for example?
Well, we had talked about in multiple venues, the desire for some sort of engagement for the school district.
Yeah, joint meeting with,
Exactly.
we were talking about the Park District yesterday. A joint meeting with the Park District.
Sure.
Okay.
One question, if you don't mind, think about adding this, with regard to engagement. We had this conversation a little last year, and so I think it's a good time to reflect. I'm critical, as I've told several people, of our history of spending a lot of time going to Washington DC. I think we need to rethink that lobbying or political engagement and spend time going to Salem. I'd like to make sure that's on this conversation with engagement, that we are leading, directing, and doing whatever, lobbying with intention.
We've had that conversation recently with the community outreach team. They seem to be on board with it. It's just a matter of doing it. Right?
I think that goes into that intentional engagement.
This one, like as one of the tactics that you'd hope to see under that. Can I list it up here, capture it as evaluating lobbying efforts
Yes,
and strategies?
I'm saying I would like to, I'm asking if that passes muster with the group as a
I
whole.
think it's already been evaluated. And we're gonna do it. But
I'm gonna keep on nagging until this is,
maybe the city
that has been infringed.
just get it done.
Individual friendship.
I guess for me on this, if you want to go down this rabbit, not that it's a rabbit trail, but I can speak to this a little bit. Okay. so-
If you want to, I'm looking at the time.
Yeah.
And thinking about this is and if you have questions and need direction from the council, but if you feel like you can do work planning around this isn't something I'm asking the council to prioritize. These would be the three things, the three outcomes here that I'd be asking you to consider as a prioritization for today's exercise. You'll get to see more of this later, but like, when you think about, we're gonna map out a bunch of stuff up here. And in the past, all of this stuff has ended up on the goals. What I heard as we prepared for today was that it's too much. We need to figure out where we can have a little more focus and some clear priorities that the council really wants to spend intentional time in the year ahead. And so I'm going to give you a limited number of dots and ask you to prioritize based on the outcomes. Not to say that some of this other stuff isn't gonna happen in the year ahead, but it really helps staff to understand where it's important to you to spend time as they think about how to resource stuff going into the budget.
I just have one question on, the more transparency with city projects and progress. Was that, for the group that discussed it, was that more focused on like public works projects?
Yeah, everything.
But like project like 10th Street, 6th Street, 12th Street, just more information as projects progressing to.
That's a really specific way to think about it. And I think, yes, and how I could see working through this with staff as we think about the tactics, it's really gonna be better storytelling around everything that's in your strategic plan.
Really where we're at in our goals.
Yeah, just really thinking about how you translate information about your goals and the work that's happening around those. So some of that would certainly be related to projects, but I wouldn't think about it limited to just.
But like,
work
I guess I
projects.
was meaning like too, like as so this has like been a whole summer long project. Are you wanting more like progress reports out to the community, like on a weekly or bi-weekly?
I think that-
Again, I think we're
Yeah,
getting, I think we're getting
how it's done.
too granular, so we're gonna have time as a follow-up in this workshop to work with staff to think about
Okay.
the how we do these things. Okay. Good. 3 outcomes for this one for right now, okay. Where do you guys wanna go next? Oh, you guys also worked on workplace and organization, so let's go there.
Okay. We took this to mean making the Dalles a nice place to work, the city of the Dalles. Policies are clear, relevant, and implemented effectively.
Okay.
Internal services are resourced effectively.
Okay.
People, take the employees, they have tools and training they need to be successful. Positive and supportive work culture focuses on solutions. Attract highly qualified applicants, both internal and external. Okay. Easy for people to do business with the city, user-friendly experience, user-friendly experience. Professional development plans are resourced and available. Succession planning. Address key needs. Finally, skills are being developed internally to support employee growth.
Business needs.
Business needs.
Yep. I mean, I think these are related to this particular outcome. Not this one. This one. This is all about, I mean, I see these two things, it's all about people having the tools and training they need to be successful. So these are a little more tactics, so I'm just gonna kind of nest that under. Succession planning addresses key needs.
Internal and external applicants.
Yeah, yeah, I think this is kind of nest under that. I don't know if there's 6 outcomes under this. I feel like this work culture is kind of also over, like policies would nest under that. Like you can't really have a positive culture if you don't have clear policies. This feels really broad. I'm just gonna maybe ask you guys to be a little more, add some clarity on this one. Resource effectively. That's a budgeting, I mean, that's something that you do through the budgeting process. I don't know if you have like tactics in mind under this. Other than we wanna make sure that it's stated.
Is there an example?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Yeah, is there an example of how behind this aside from just like budgeting, a budgeting perspective?
Like, do people have laptops or access to IT for resolving issues? Is that the kind of thing?
Well, Brenda's department is all about internal services, whether it's
Yeah.
insurance, workers' compensations, employee safety, HR.
Well, and so is finance.
You know, to me, that's kind of like
Administration.
your job description. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
I'm just
also-
wondering, yeah, what,
I'm thinking not just about the money, but I'm also thinking about the skill sets that are going to be needed now and in the future as we think about what needs to be implemented, that we're
but then that's,
also thinking about that. Yeah, there's a.
that's tools, there's a tie and then tools and training.
Yeah.
Maybe, okay. I'm just trying to think of what are the high level outcomes and where does stuff nest? Okay. To me, this is about like process improvement. Yep, okay, so then I feel like there's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Anything missing? Questions, comments? It's good stuff. Big body of work there. Not trying to minimize it by consolidating things, but trying to make sure we're being clear.
We've had from our start, years in goal setting, we continue to evolve. At the start, a couple of years back, there's a lot of like, provide excellent services in this, provide excellent services in that. We still wrestle with that a little bit, get us excellent services. What does that mean and what's feasible? And that's still sort of a tension. We're gonna do good work. Specifically, that's where it gets hard.
Well, I think these ideas under this, and I know this, it can be hard when you're doing it in this environment, but I'm asking you to do 2 things. I'm asking that, for 2 groups of people, you guys are one team, but you have staff and you have council. I'm asking council to stay at a high policy level, which is hard, because sometimes you're getting into like some of this stuff, which is more tactical and valuable, because it helps give staff direction to understand what you mean by this bigger thing. So I hear you even saying like, this feels a little wishy-washy, but it's not, because when staff goes to do the work planning stuff, because you are talking about it through this discussion and highlighting some of these other things, it helps staff to understand what you mean by that, so that they can kind of build out the details of the plan and like the tactical things that are gonna make this stuff happen. Does that make sense? I know it doesn't feel great. It's hard.
I said there was a tension.
There is a tension. It's a tension between, I remember when I was doing this training around like visioning and goal setting. It's like, you should feel tension. The vision in the center should make us want to stretch a little bit. If you imagine holding a rubber band. But it needs to be grounded in something pragmatic and real. And so I'm asking you to stretch a little bit by saying, what is the big thing that you want to do? And making sure that staff has enough understanding to understand what it's grounded in, so that they can build out the tactics. I don't know if that made any sense, but I think about that training all the time, and the trainer actually like held the rubber band until it snapped. It's like, you've lost your group when the rubber band is broke. One day I did it, and the rubber band was just old and it snapped out. Well, that doesn't count. Faulty. So. I know there's a tension there. It's just part of this work.
The way I look at it so thinking of like my day job, the thing that we focus on are things like, it's a for-profit business. So it's like, how do we surpass like a $250 million revenue goal, right? Like our C-suite and executive leadership team gives us that. They don't tell us how to get there.
Right.
So is that maybe
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. That's what we're asking the council to do, but because you're doing this work together and people's brains work differently, you have to have,
Yep.
you have to have a little bit of the tactical in there. But that's really the work, that's the work of staff. Okay. All right, so I feel like we've got 4 outcomes there. Let's hear from this group. I'm really curious to hear how you guys frame this up, because it was one where we were like, what's the right description? What feels appropriate? And so we tasked you with the hard work. What do you got?
Got the mouthpiece on that, so,
Okay.
I think we probably skewed heavily towards safety. But there's some livability issues in there too, so.
Okay,
First and foremost, we had the discussion around the feasibility of rebooting our municipal court. In order to get a handle on some of the public safety issues around town. Municipal courts, while not a court of record, can handle misdemeanors, and right now we only use it as a traffic court. So that would be an expansion of services, and what that means, we really talked about that not in terms of doing it, but in terms of having an evaluation or a contracted assessment as to whether it's even feasible.
okay,
And then we also talked about a police staffing analysis, which is forthcoming and in progress actually, and how to implement that, if it's the right thing to do and at what level.
Okay.
And then hand in hand with the municipal court feasibility analysis, we talked about possible contract with Norfor for city beds at the jail, that are specifically for our use in order to handle some of the street level quality of life crimes that are out there beating us up every single day.
okay,
And there's models in other jurisdictions where municipalities have essentially secured their own bed space for that purpose. So we could do that, and that would probably be a part of the scope of work for the municipal court feasibility study.
okay,
More about livability. We talked about a tree canopy study or survey within the city, and how all of our trees are cared for, their states of care, and whether they're dangerous or still growing and healthy.
okay,
And we equated that a little bit to the sidewalk 50/50 program, where we have residents who are responsible for a street side tree, who have a branch that needs to come down or a tree that even needs to be removed. That we recognize that that's a large investment for that family, and maybe a 50/50 city collaboration with them, like we have in our sidewalk crack program.
okay.
Anybody's welcome to speak up at any moment here. And then,
Focus on that was on certain larger older trees.
yeah,
High value.
not bushes and stuff like that, but trees that are
Big trees.
historical and big,
Yeah.
yeah. And then I brought up, ballot measure 114 passed, and that's now at the state Supreme Court. And that requires a background check in order to get a permit to purchase firearms, go get another background check to buy the gun. And that's incumbent on police, and that includes us to run those background checks, and we currently have no staff to do it. And so, there's another area of service that we're currently not providing that we should, which is sex offender registration at the office. Right now, all of those people go out to OSP. That's also really incumbent on the city police to do that as well. So staffing for ballot measure 114 and sex offender registration, essentially a non-sworn staff to do background type investigations and permitting type stuff at the PD.
Okay.
I'm not done. And then we talked about, there's been in the past several sessions, brought up the need for, or the opportunity possibly for either a community service officer type, person, which we've seen in other jurisdictions, where they can do like day-to-day, reporting stuff and support for the police department. So we elevate our officers to higher level work. It's a community service officer or a crime analyst to support our detectives and our internal technology and our accreditation efforts. So that's all work that basically staff taken on, that can go elsewhere and then again, elevate us back to the higher level work that we should be doing. And then I added DFR, which is drug as a first responder. So that's also goes in technology, but that's shown to reduce police response to routine calls for service can be cleared instantly with the drone. As an example, somebody acting disorderly in the street, fly the drone over, not in the street anymore, clear the call. Okay. And then we talked about a yard debris burn ban in the city and why we're still allowing that and the impacts it has on the livability of the town. And if that's something that maybe is maybe slided in the past. And then a city community trail plan, that wasn't mine, who had that?
I added that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to be thinking about that a little bit. That might go under infrastructure.
And maybe a little more explanation on what that is.
More of a maintenance plan.
What?
That's it. I
Oh, I
want
mean-
more of this, I want them tied together, I want them to. Maybe that's with partners and not just the city, but. Rail guys, need job, he's giving us.
Okay,
Well,
so these, I mean, in my mind, this is separate. Like, this stuff is all pretty specific. And I'm like, what's the higher, why would we do a police staffing analysis? Why do we need to add resources for a community service officer? Why do we need to add resources to deal with this problem? Like, what is the higher level community outcome that we're driving towards with these tactics?
Right, so I think I explained that on the ballot measure 114 and SOR registration, those are legislatively mandated services. That if the Supreme Court upholds 114, we're gonna do that somehow. And
Yeah.
it's gonna be at the expense of something else, you know, our records or our service at the front desk. CSO is an opportunity, just putting it out there, you know, and sometimes people have looked at that as sort of an offset for work the police department can
Yeah,
have,
so if,
thereby.
but I'm saying, this is about, the outcome here is, it's about improving community safety. All these things contribute to having a safe community. Like, to me, that's the outcome. These are ways to get there.
Yeah, I don't know, what I get. Yeah, at some point we need to get down to the specific, like, what are we gonna do? And I guess our group was
And
like,
this gives good direction on that, but I see staff as like, when they go to do their piece of the work. And I think it's good discussion that you guys had, when they go to do their piece of the work, the chief is gonna be like, okay, if the priority for the council this year is to really like double down on. Like enhancing community safety, this, like, we need to do, these are the ways that we're gonna do that, and then staff would outline that in the work plan, and that would happen, so
Isn't that
again,
what we're
it's,
talking about here?
what?
Isn't that what we're talking about here?
This is, but I asked you guys to get to outcomes, because I don't, the council shouldn't be prioritizing. Like, if they prioritize community safety as as staff, as an organization, you guys should be giving direction on in what order, how you sequence this stuff.
yeah, but I'm gonna push back, yeah, yes, and. There's an appropriate lane for city council. We'll take your point. But the width of that lane. Is up for debate to some degree. And I should not be out there I should not be, responding to a call for service. Right. But understanding the specifics of being in that discussion and helping to hear from staff and saying, yeah, let's think about that for this year. That does feel like it's in the lane. And at some point, I feel like, speaking for myself, we need to get there and say, great, we support a fully staffed police department. Understood, how do we get there? And now what do we do?
Yes, but for today's purposes, this isn't a 3-day workshop, so if we were gonna go into that level of detail for all of these things, we would never accomplish that. So giving staff enough direction to go back and build a work plan, that's why you guys have work sessions. They come back to council, understanding what the desired outcome was, and you having some of these conversations, that's important. This is what we've outlined to achieve this outcome, and here's how we would recommend we sequence it. Council give us direction on that. Here's what it costs. They bring it back to you with more detail. So you're right. There is a space for council in that lane. We just don't have time to go into that level of detail for all of these. We need some high level direction for today's purposes to build out the plan. That's where, so again, it's this tension of like specifics versus general outcomes, and what is today's exercise, knowing that this is coming back to the council again before the strategic plan gets finalized.
Okay, well, there's 4 councilors here and a mayor, and they can all have their own opinions. But for my feedback, I want engaged in that at an early stage, early and often. Yeah. And maybe I've misunderstood this particular exercise. But this, to me, this has been really valuable, and saying things like, you know, we want, supportive work culture, yes, great. That's like a 5-minute discussion, great, now, but what does that mean, and how do we get there? I feel like we need to be engaged in that as citizen legislators and volunteers, policymakers. What does that mean? How do we be thinking?
I mean,
Well, and
we
I,
will be.
and I think there's a couple elements here, right? I mean, there will be these categories, these outputs under every one of these 5 things. So let's say each of them have 3, there's 15 different topics to be discussed, and let's start knocking them down one by one. You know, I've been in this situation before where it seems like a very basic or fundamental question of why. And so like, we want the police department to be fully staffed. Well, why? Because the output is we want to improve the sense of the actual and sense of public safety.
Right.
The other example here is the tree canopy and burn ban. Why? Because we want cleaner air and a less hot environment. Like, is that what we're trying to
Yes.
achieve? And then preserving historic trees, implementing a permanent burn ban, doing whatever else it may be for that output. And the intent here is to really crystallize those, so we can do that work over the next 1 to 5 years.
And what comes to you next, if we can get to the outcomes today and we have some of your insights on the how piece of it, staff can go through these and take this stuff and some of the Post-its that are underneath of these high level categories and build out details. And that's the draft plan that will come back to you. That's where you get to dig into it at a council meeting and say, or at a work session and say, yes, this is what I meant by this, or staff, tell me more about this. So your council's gonna get us a chance to talk about that more. But for this exercise, we can't get to the specifics of the how until we understand the why and the what it is you're trying to accomplish. Is that?
So we take all those, 8 things and condense them into 2 or 3 outcomes?
Yeah, to help me understand what's most important.
So I'd
Because
say your top 3 there is you want to improve response times from law enforcement, improve response times and increase conflict resolution.
I think what Matthew said, is kind of thinking back to what the community survey also said, is like, it's kind of about enhancing the person, not just increasing response times or enhancing community safety, but also the perception of feeling safe in the community.
I guess it's kind of, you know, again, it's a little painful, right? But like, why do you want to improve response time? It's like very basic and fundamental, but it's also kind of hard to answer.
Yeah, but I think you summed it up with the
Yes.
increased feelings of stuff. So yeah. You have stories about having to wait.
I'm not trying to be flippant about it. I'm not trying to
Yeah.
reduce these good ideas into something, but you have, even if you're telling a story of the community, you have to be able to explain, cool, a police staffing analysis. So you're asking for more money for more staff. Why? Like, you have to be able to explain the why behind everything. So it does,
Reduce response time, so that
Right.
the public feels safer.
exactly. So I know it sounds kind of silly when I ask that question. Obviously, I know why, like,
So I think that those top 3 that you just gestured towards would be correct police staffing and support. It's not just cops, but the list of our job, right? Then maybe the bottom 2 on the right, which is the court feasibility and the jail contract, would be like city justice system, implementation or support. And then the tree cleaning and yard debris might be around,
could be around,
yeah, help,
better health outcomes.
yeah, clean air. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, yes, that's what I'm asking for. Sorry, it's painful to get there for a second. I think you're there too.
Broad-based should be accountability.
Okay, so
Broad-based should be accountability, increased accountability.
all right, so One more time, what's the outcome here?
Say adequate police and support staff.
And again, we can wordsmith it all later.
People want a sense of safety and peacefulness in the community.
Yeah.
Want a reduction, a sense of disorder. I think that's very high level.
Yeah, so we want a sense of safety, through adequate policing support staffing. Something that's what we're driving towards by doing these things. This one, we want clean air. Right, or
The word beautification was used a lot.
I know, it's also, the tree canopy is also kind of around beautification and.
Safe, healthy trees and maintenance.
Just like, yeah, I mean, a livable, walkable, a nice place to live, you know, that means the soft stuff. Right, not just the infrastructure. It means thinking about some of those specific.
Don't those both relate to public health?
They do.
I think there's a broad spectrum of stuff in terms of like actions to go down. There's trees, there's ADA sidewalks, there's sidewalks, like, gosh, see that. There's sidewalks in general from like a mobility standpoint. That's that health and mobility piece. There's a lot of actions in it that we consider.
So community, the outcome here is of. I don't know, healthy, it sounded like a healthier, more beautiful community.
Yes.
Yeah.
True.
I think, is that the sentiment we're trying to get at? That's what we're driving towards? I
I just imagine like around the room, we want the community to be healthier and safe.
It's healthier and more healthier and more attractive.
You know, right now we do a really good job with graffiti abatement. Right? Is that economic development? Yeah. Is it making the community just nicer? Yeah. Is it important? Yeah. You can see it through those lenses. I don't know.
Yeah, and there's gonna be some crossover when you put these outcomes up here, you're like, yeah, that could also fit in this whole area, and that's very minimal. But you try to find a place from a reporting standpoint to have stuff live.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna just roll with healthier and more attractive for right now. And then this one, it is about like accountability for some of
Accountability and enforcement.
accountability and enforcement. Is that the outcome for leaning towards here?
I think that's more sense of safety as well. Those things all kind of interact. We talked about this sort of overlapping analogies of like city jail space, municipal court on a spectrum of like options.
Okay, so this isn't a separate outcome, it goes up here.
I think there's an element there though, that part of the reason we're talking about that is because of the frustrations or failures in how like state structures and whatnot, if we are in control of our own destiny, we can have our own at a certain cost.
Without having to open your own jail. Okay, and then trails connectivity. Is this healthier, more attractive? All right, so we have two outcomes here. All right, great. Economic development, you guys are doing great. We need a quick stretch break.
Yeah.
Yeah, stand up and stretch for 30 seconds. 30 seconds, take it off. Okay, that was a hard one. We got there, take it off.
The end of the
Little trunk twist. Shoulder, that sometimes when we have tense conversations, do people's shoulders like get stuck up by their ears? Yeah, put them back down where they're supposed to. Good for your back. And everything, and your mind, and your brain safe. Okay. Some people went out to take flat.
Yeah, we had to do the monkey.
They went too hard.
Yeah, do that too.
Swim.
Good. See, It all comes back in style, doesn't it?
It does.
Because it was good for us then, and it's still good for us now, okay.
Toodaloo.
Infrastructure and technology, shall we?
Sure, no, go on, follow it. Yeah.
This is gonna be a cakewalk. Come on, you got it, Dale, of course you wanna follow that. Who has the post-its from the infrastructure and technology? David's got it, what do you got, David? Keep standing if it feels good.
Access to high-speed internet.
Okay. Yes.
Oh, no, that's all, that's.
For all.
But he has another funding.
Oh,
Good.
IT has adequate resources and the right skills.
Okay,
IT systems and support are working well for the employees and the customers. And employees have modern technology and the know-how to use it.
Boy, David's gonna be busy.
okay,
Software and technology tools are unified at the enterprise level. Now we've got 17 different programs throughout the city.
yeah,
Process improvement and leverage it responsibly for efficiency and capacity gains.
is this related specifically to technology?
Yes, well, it could be for
That could be for anything,
anything.
yeah, okay.
But next year you don't end up quite so many posts.
IT roadmap, strategic plan that's been developed. Technology that's implemented to minimize and mitigate tech debt.
You guys write a book?
Okay, so let's just wait, where's the, is more of this all
This is all.
this is all the IT stuff? Let's just focus on this IT stuff for a second. This is, to me, there's one outcome. What are we driving towards? These are not all separate outcomes. There's a lot. This is one thing.
modernization.
Yeah.
Comes down to.
Yeah, okay.
So it looks big.
Modernization of our IT systems, this is what we're driving towards. Okay. This feels separate. Is that there for now? Gosh, I'm just gonna give you all of them. I'm gonna come back. All good things. But the high level outcome here is about modernization of our IT systems. You need all of those things. This is a robust area of your work plan.
Maybe add to this modernization of the IT system, but also the training and knowledge to use it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't modernize your systems without that, which would be a strategy. Is your, yeah, and you guys have it in there. Even we just finished some work with IT or with CIS, and this was one of their big goals. And the first thing they did, you asked them who they use. They had a pretty good experience, was they did an IT roadmap. And it laid out and looked at all of those things that you guys just talked about. There's like a 103 slide presentation of all of the findings. It's really interesting, but it is the investment organizations need to figure out. Okay, tell me more about infrastructure.
City has no funding for roads.
Matthew had some.
Oh, yeah,
Thanks, Bill. Just real quick, I think part of the piece with IT systems, but also dovetailing with infrastructure as an outcome is the right tools. John. So a good broad statement, whether it be a piece of software or a piece of IT equipment or the right public works rig to maintain your infrastructure, I think that's an outcome.
right tools to do the job. Was that one in there?
It was.
Oh, I think that.
Yeah, right, adequate resources and right skill.
This one?
Yeah.
I see that as a budgeting exercise, but there might be tax. Okay, city has enough funding for roads.
New 6th Street Bridge. Maintain and supporting master plan. projects.
Okay.
The roadmap to extend the utilities to the urban growth boundaries. Prioritize projects and master plans and find funding. Projects equitable throughout the city. New word for me today. Multi-modality.
That means trails.
Sidewalk trails.
Bike lanes, different ways to move around.
Airports.
Airports, different ways to move
If only we
around.
had one that we could invest in.
Viable, desirable, consistent, accessible. New modernized water treatment plant and transmission lines to city.
Great, why are we doing all these things? It's just you guys are gonna be so ready to be say bye to me at 12 o'clock. It's totally fine, wouldn't be the first group. Why are we doing all of these things? What is the why? Huh?
Enhance livability.
Infrastructure resilience.
We want resilient infrastructure that serves everybody. Yeah? Okay, great. Give me a name, Sasha. You? Resilient and reliable infrastructure?
That's the guys that came up with this excellent.
Yes.
What do you mean by resilience? Do you mean reliable?
Reliable.
High quality, yeah, what do you mean?
Durable.
Reliable, or reliable's not that into that, but millions feels like the. Something goes down, you still have to. Things move forward.
Like the redundancy.
Like the redundancy. Yeah.
Well, stars, thank you.
Sarah, it seems like we got there through like some pain.
Yeah, we are getting there. I want to, here, I'm just gonna let you.
It's almost like a new tactic for you all, right? Because you're presenting these, because it's sort of like you're just looking at these specifics and then you help us abstract it at the finish line. This is not bad.
It's not that bad. It's just I feel like sometimes for the participants,
Yeah.
depending on how you think and how your brain works, sometimes it's really annoying for people. And I just want you all to know that I see that. And I know that it's a process. And like sometimes people get frustrated at this stage of the process because I'm asking them to go a little higher up because they want to know the specifics. Like Dan keeps asking these questions, but I want to know the how, and that is part of. And I agree with you, but it's like, we gotta start here so that we can get there. So it's coming.
So your process is really start from the general, the biggest picture and get down to the specifics. At some point, we need to get specifics.
You will, but not in this.
And it needs to be iterative, right? We can't just be like, I want a beautiful city. You guys come back and tell me, no, I'm gonna say,
Right.
and I wanted to include this, or I wanna talk about that.
Yeah, so when you see the notes from the workshop, all of these specific things are gonna be in the note, but for like the purposes of what we're doing, I need you to stay here and thank you for this. It's gonna help us into the next step.
It's really like defining the situation and or the problem.
Yeah, clear problem statement.
Not, yeah, not the solution, not symptoms. But actual problem.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay,
I had a constituent, I think the same constituent was talking to somebody about something that's not an outcome at all, it's more of a specific goal. And I told her I would really not, and so I would ask the staff to consider it when you're talking about specific goals to achieve these outcomes, and that is an ordinance that would get into the use of electric bicycles and scooters on city sidewalks. So there, I did it. So you can tell her.
And you're on kid.
yeah, Sasha will go into your health and safety.
And so now I must do the same thing. And mention a curbside compost program. That's something constituents have brought up, so I don't think
Let's put those in the airport hangar so that you visibly see them, that they're up here.
But one high level question to Rich and to staff. you feel that it would be useful to include in the infrastructure bid road safety, appropriate safe bases,
It's an outcome.
like a higher level outcome. Yeah, because that kind of talks on police staffing and traffic control, rolled out sidewalks,
Well,
scooter,
What you're
all the
saying,
specifics.
that goes under healthy and safe community, which is already the outcome you guys have.
so I'm putting it here so that staff has these notes for things that you, like, as they start to work through the details, they can bring that back to the council, so it's there. And I have it in the notes, and it's in the notes too. Okay, all right, we have a couple more areas, you guys are doing great, Stick with it, okay, housing.
Okay.
Oh, wait, hold on, one thing, access to high-speed internet. Is this an outcome? Here, this feels different from the kind of,
I think it is because it's not just staff, it's also community.
yeah. Okay, I'm gonna leave that as its own thing. It could be under resilient infrastructure that serves all. How do you feel about that? Put the detail under that? Okay, did you get that one? Okay. All right, so then,
But I had one to
Yeah.
infrastructure and tech, and so, I don't want to get lost just in like modernizing IT systems, because sometimes GIS is like outside of, maybe not considered IT. But at least in the notes, I know it won't make it up on the board right now, but we talked internally about, trying to GIS capabilities of the city, so it's the big. As long as it makes it in the notes.
GIS capabilities in there, yeah. Great.
I thought we relied on the county for all that. We don't.
Well, yeah, we contract with them, but they have two individuals that also assist Sherman County. The fire department, they're spread pretty thin, so, it's definitely. The engineering department uses it, PD's commission uses it, so it's really something that I think we're hanging on by a thread to having the county. The contracting with the county, they're great, they provide great service to us, but we also kind of get backlogged too, because they have.
So I think that something right next to that is the city radio system too. It's sort of IT, but IT and radios are sort of live in different realms, but they'll have to be maintained and modernized.
Okay. Housing, what do we come up with? to
Yeah, I
housing?
really hope I follow directions here, Scott and I involved. This. The.
Housing production strategy. Okay. SDCs. This is like, keep plugging away at the housing production
Yeah.
strategy, okay?
Yeah, so we have, in our group, we kind of listed some. Basically some carve outs off of the HPS, but I just figured. Kind of rewrote it, because I don't want to get as specific and granular like we did last year.
Yeah.
So,
And then what's the outcome with SDCs? You guys have them,
yeah, an update, overall update, and that would be.
why are we updating them?
Because our methodologies are too old and we're not, actually been updated.
Go high level, my friend.
Have been updated.
Thanks, look, Dan, I don't have to say anything.
Sausage for the, sauce for the gander, what is the, why would we do that?
Yeah,
Work next week.
to pay into into our infrastructure, into our system, what really needs to offset some of the costs of our aging infrastructure.
Okay,
And we have master plans that have looked at them and said what we can be charging, and we haven't had updates in 10 years, 12 years,
okay,
whatever. So it's kind of probably.
What I'm hearing is that there needs to be an assessment to evaluate. Whether or not can we. Like I always hear that, we need to update. It's like,
or
why?
no,
Is there a
that-
problem? Like
is-
is there an assessment that tells us that there's
yeah,
a problem?
so it's the outcome to have SDCs align with your community infrastructure needs.
Fairness and equity.
Yeah,
I mean, we need SDCs to maintain good.
So it's like sustainable farming.
Right, so the action is to assess and update the SDCs. We anticipate that they are going to go up. But the reason we're doing that is we need the money to maintain our.
But it's more than financial, isn't it?
Equity is a big thing.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just gonna put, it's guided by equity. Equity might end up down here in the values, which would not be a terrible thing.
You know, we have to balance that with, making our community more developer friendly.
Yeah. So, okay. That's an outcome, maybe not a very well worded one, but we'll wordsmith later. Great.
Housing choice and diversification for all.
That the why behind the housing production strategy.
I think, there's a couple levels to the housing, there's a lot of focus on affordable housing, but it's also, we need to make sure that we're attracting. We're re-envisioning the idea of the starter home, we're gonna talk about that later.
But isn't that why we do housing production strategy?
Sure, just, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Improving housing conditions without displacing owners in them, in the home repair programs.
Oh, okay.
Seeking grant assistance for housing initiatives. I think this is very specific, it plays into as we move through the housing production strategy.
So this is under, this helps with, this supports housing choice and diversification.
Yeah. Identifying the feasibility and constructability of land development, so
Also
trying
to
to
that one.
provide like assistance for yesterday I was talking about requiring developers to install sidewalks and things like that, but also trying to take an overall look at land for the urban growth boundary and making it so there's not so much of a burden on the developer, so we can actually start to.
And that's what I mentioned in the infrastructure piece of it, of expanding facilities.
Yeah,
But this is, again, it helps support housing choice and diversification. It's about expanding your housing inventory, right?
it is, yeah. Streamlining the process, and I think this can go with, the work, like the organization piece as well.
Okay.
Easy for people to do business.
What's that?
The easy for people to do business.
Yeah. Ooh, oh, come back. Okay.
And then the last one, we had a couple others, but I threw them out. So. Yeah.
Did you do it?
You were gonna tear them apart anyway.
So mean, okay. Seek out government agency owned land for development.
Yeah, I think that's good, as we granted that moves to housing choice, but as we can try as the city to form some more partnerships with some of the other agencies. That have land, that are land owners, and try to come up with some kind of
Yeah,
partnership.
but it's one that is gonna nest under there. It's not a separate outcome.
I don't necessarily know if it's called out in the HPS, so, yeah.
But securing land is,
Yeah,
what else do we use it for?
just for that.
Just for that. Okay. Good, 3 outcomes under housing. Okay. How are we feeling? Good? You guys ready to do the last one? You're there. Economic development. Jack, you look like you got some post-its.
We have a couple categories, buildable land inventory.
Okay. I gotta clean these up over here. Yes. buildable land and inventory, what else?
These would go under.
Okay, so you have economic analysis. And that is about sustaining current businesses, recruiting new businesses. And absentee, addressing maybe absentee landlords, trying to deal with some of the vacant storefronts, okay? Why? Okay, so this is a tactic, this would be like an economic development strategic plan of sorts. Why are we doing that?
Identify the problem. Do we have a problem? Like, where are pain points in our economic development? Like, do we have sustainable industries here? Or are we atrophying industries? And that'll lead us to the question as to like why obviously, if something's going away, like why did that? But I think it'll, like an economic analysis along with like our EOA, like our economic opportunities analysis, global landed, where you kind of go together, you know, like what we actually need to do, right? I don't know, I think all of us in here have like some idea of like bits and pieces of what our economic situation looks like in the city, but nobody can like put their thumb on it as to like what it currently looks like, and is it stagnated? Is it like we talked yesterday in the history and the timeline of the Dalles? Like we've got this kind of like roller coaster thing. And you know, our population growth was huge in like the 50s and 60s and stuff. We identified that. It's kind of stagnated since, so it could speak to that, right?
Yeah,
So like in my mind, I've always had the opinion that like we don't know what we don't know yet.
Yeah.
So how can we like drive towards actions that would improve things? We don't know what to improve.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What I'm kind of hearing is an understanding of our current
Current
economic
situation.
conditions, strengths, and weaknesses. That's going to inform
Yep.
what we do next. And there's a whole host of things we can do to have that be an outcome from an economic opportunity analysis, into a business license, to a whatever.
Lots of things. Yeah. In fact, you know, one level higher, we will healthy, diverse local economy with good jobs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's
Like, why are we trying to understand it further?
Yeah.
Interesting. No, you got it. Thanks for speaking a little higher level.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got,
Starting to look
okay, understand current economic conditions to build a healthy, diverse economy with good jobs. And the buildable land inventory would be that's one of the things you would explore, like where it's, yeah, okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Tasha, do you want me to just give you all?
Yeah.
There you go.
Here was the only other thing was. That probably falls under that. How can we make the process easier for new and existing business? Which is.
It almost goes over.
It kind of falls underneath, it kind of goes along with like some of the services.
Yeah.
What about, yeah, let's put that one under. We can, it goes under one of those outcomes. What about the school? What about the workforce stuff? Education, is that important to you guys?
Workforce education,
Well, just around, talked about the school district, we talked about we talked about like. Education, and it all is, that like ties into economics because it's workforce development. And so I'm just wondering if that's something that you want to reference in your strategic plan. This is about understanding the conditions and thinking about industry clusters and what you have here. Workforce would certainly probably be a part of it, but it feels like there's another community challenge out here, like around education. I'm not sure, it's something we've talked about as part of this, and I don't want to lose it.
So I would split it, frankly, and I think there's a K-12 element in terms of livability. And then there is like a post-12 workforce. And not that it's exclusive, but when we talk about like workforce training and things like that, we really talk about like the community college and things like that. And when we talk about the high school, we talk, what I've heard over today and yesterday is more along the lines of, we want this to be a place where people can come and raise their families and be proud of the school system that we have here. It's more in that category.
Oh,
That
okay.
helps.
Can they get out of school and go directly into a job? I mean, is there a trades job? I mean, I think we were focusing on excellent employment of what's our analysis of our community right now?
Right.
And how do we retain the people that we have and have that buildable land inventory so that we can recruit? We need more bodies.
So we can discuss that briefly in the technology piece of it, is that, you know, especially like in the high school, whatever, kids are being current with most current technology in the community college here, that when they're coming out of those, they have that ability to go into the workforce.
Maybe a good example of what we're talking about is the like aviation training program here at CGCC is feeding the future viability of our airport infrastructure and development going forward, right? But right now, a lot of those students have like come here, they go through the program, they graduate, they finish, and they're out because like Alaska and Horizon Airlines don't exist here. Right, so how do we, like, from an economic development standpoint, I think that's important, like the education workforce development, but it also like, I think ties into, like recruitment of new businesses and potentially even new industry. Right?
Yeah, I don't know if there's I don't know if you guys wanna call out a separate outcome around, they talked back, you made this point earlier, like, people choose to stay here. And is it about creating a workforce pipeline from your local education systems to work here in local industry? I don't know,
Maybe.
one way,
I think that's a really useful element to add under economic development. Talking about it, it's one of those things where we could add it in a couple of different.
yeah, it's an outcome, like there's different strategies for how you could get there.
So talk about intentional engagement, community partners, including the school board.
Yeah.
So is that an engagement? Yeah, but
Yeah,
also
yeah.
good high school is livability, you know, desirability. And economic development. So yeah, to my mind, it's like, yeah, I'm not quite sure how to slice that up, but it's kind of maybe on the part of one of those. Or so cool.
Yeah, some of your the stuff with the school district could easily fall there, or you're right. So I don't know, is there a separate outcome up here? I don't know, I just wanted to make sure we don't miss it before I asked you to do the next thing.
I don't know, I kind of, like, I like the idea of calling out like current and future workforce development. I can see a direct correlation with both sustaining and recruiting new businesses, which is like, you know, all tied into economic development.
Using that aviation example, I mean, if we had a manufacturer or a repair station for a specific model of jet, like a Boeing does, whatnot, you would have a workforce coming out of your college going directly to work for a company that has
Windmills are another good
example. That, I think that's kind of where we were driving at, is that there's an opportunity to bring a business here based on the workforce and just.
And does the city have a role in that? I guess is the even bigger question of like, does the city have a facilitator, convener role in like helping organizations connect those dots?
I think there's a leadership role for the city. And I mean, I know the city council, we have a lot of stuff to do on our plates and we don't have a whole lot of time, it's like an evaluative research, but. You know, maybe that is one of our council goals for 26, 27 is like. Step up to the plate and leadership, more of a leadership role, direct leadership role and engagement with our partners. And it kind of speaks to everything on this board plan, right?
Okay, somebody want to throw out a proposal? For what you want to put up here?
I think that statement that's up there that says people choose to stay or invest here, I can't quite read it, but
So let
Is that
me
similar?
remember something, so like we care about workforce development to support the industries that we have here. We're looking to recruit here. So our local wages go up and we have family wage and family wage jobs here, so people can stay or come here. and invest.
We're coming back here.
Yeah, I know it's super long, that's just not ultimately, like, the goal is family wage jobs, so people can stay here, they can invest here.
I'm just gonna try.
Maybe we need to just have it called out to that more granular level as we really want Matthew and Sam. Data, be thinking about that as part of economic development. How to find our education pieces, not just with the development.
Only thing, I don't know, this kind of misses the jobs and training. It's like you have the jobs, but are people skilled, I think it's this workforce development too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a little like the workforce development pieces and stuff really.
Because this is kind of, this is understand, because this has also a diverse economy with good jobs. So that would kind of fall under
I think
that.
a piece of it is a little chicken or egg, right? So. You know, to attract an industry here, one of the elements is there a local workforce who can work in that industry? Like, if you want Horizon to come to the airport, they need to be able to hire the people they need. But then we also need Horizon at the airport. To
Support those people coming out of school.
Right, otherwise they're gonna go to Alaska where Horizon is, or wherever.
Or they're gonna be importing jobs, should they choose to come to this market, they're going to be importing employees from elsewhere, which goes back to Josh's needs in the housing. So let's make it easy, I think part of that workforce development is making it easier for those businesses to come here, right? Because they're going to have to bring in the experience. And there's gonna be a balance between like, do you bring in 100 people or do you bring in like 5 or 6 like upper level management people and then find the developed workforce here. It's like that partnership, that local partnership.
Is the outcome maybe just to build the workforce pipeline to support what you're building here?
Yeah.
Okay, can I just put build workforce pipeline?
Yes. Perfect. We've got a simple.
Sometimes we have a tendency to overthink things, right? And who knows, you guys, this is in a draft form, you may think about these things and be like, I've wore that for a while, it doesn't fit exactly how I'd like it, I'd like to tailor it. And if that, then we can do that later, but this, I think, captures the main ideas. Dan?
This is a higher level question and I know we're under time, but it's definitely on my mind. Maybe it goes under communications and engagement. But how do we properly engage our counselors in projects through the year and set our own priorities? For instance, not all work is staff work, some is staff and council. You know, right now we're looking at an evaluation process. That's been really painful and risky for our city manager and our city attorney. How do we do that better so that we can practice them better? That's a couple of city councilors, their staff, and that's a goal that we're working on just because we kind of said we need to do it. But I guess I'd like to have some way for council to be reviewing with the mayor and whoever that work we do outside of the city council You know, maybe like reviewing our committee assignments and thinking through that. I think that would be a really useful plan or a useful bit of work this year. So I don't know if that's granular, I don't know if that goes under engagement, I don't know if it's something.
You probably don't say it, it's probably not gonna happen, but
I think it goes under something I mentioned earlier, like city council steps up, provides a leadership and guidance for local partnerships with our other like, community agencies and folks like that. I think that fits really well. Yeah. We need to evaluate it, like,
I mean, it'd be nice for the mayor to hear this. We have received, to some degree, like received our committee assignments. And without ever really asking, what are we doing here? Okay, we go and do it. Is it valuable? Was it the most valuable use of our time? We have counselors that kind of a self-assign some community group that's like neither here nor there.
yeah, maybe we put it as a note under here.
That would be.
Because I remember it came up in the interview at the outreach process too, like you also, some of you are assigned to, there's multiples of you assigned to boards and commissions, is that right? And just like thinking about the workload and how many meetings you go to, is that the best structure or the most efficient use of time?
So that might be kind of granular, but it's really important for high level thinking on our.
Yeah, okay.
Is that working? We have
Let's,
one guy that goes to community outreach. It's like, maybe that's not one person.
can I just put it, can I just generalize it as evaluate council assignments, because it might be boards and commissions, but it may not be limited to that,
Understood, yes.
right?
I think you're right.
Okay.
Well, I think I'm gonna add one more element to that, you know, some of my conversations with those managers. Workflow on my planning commission. And having a little bit more of engagement dialogue between this work plan and council's goals and some different.
Yes.
So if planning commission takes a topic, they do a lot of work on that topic, comes to the city council for approval. City council's like, oh, we don't really even want to talk about it. Just kind of like flat, which has happened in the community. It's not the council necessarily dictates that what they're gonna work on here, again, the example, but it's a little bit more communication and alignment with where we're heading, or what those actions look like. Do more on this. Not that we aren't, but to avoid those circles.
100% agree, and some of it might even be like cultural change when we have city council meetings. We will be bringing a very specific 2-sentence report of our recent committee and what you can expect, or not just I attended. But yes, Amy.
Okay. What I'm going to ask you to do next is, this is a really high level exercise. It's just one data point. I think there's going to be more prioritization as we continue to build out the strategic plan. But I want, we're gonna give different colored dots to staff and council, because I'm interested in staff's prioritization on this as well. And where they think we should be spending time over the next year, but I'm gonna ask you to just, you're only gonna get 3 dots. I know that's not a lot, but again, this is just an initial data point to understand which of these outcomes do you feel are most important to be working on in the year ahead. And again, there's going to be another opportunity for prioritization within the respective areas, but this is just an initial data point to understand where the council is now that we've defined some outcomes. So if you were only able, think about it in terms of, if we are only able to make progress in 3 of these areas, these outcome areas, where is it most important for you to move the dial this next year? And I'm gonna put, to make it really clear which post-it you're able to put dots on, I'm gonna highlight them with red dots.
And there are rules, you cannot rip the dots in half, you can't steal them from each other, you can't share. What else? Oh, yeah, and do you want them to be able to vote on, stack their vote? Like put 3 dots on one thing?
No,
Okay.
not for, no, sometimes I let groups do that, but I thought, because you only get 3 and there's a lot of outcomes, I really like trying to stack them on one, just, that doesn't feel helpful at this stage.
Just an observation that I might have an outcome that I think is super important, really my number 1 priority, But I feel that we've already made sufficient progress. So do I list that as one of my three or not? So I guess that's something. That's our community, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I love it when people just answer their own questions. Respond.
How is modernized IT systems different than employees have modern tech and know how to use it?
Well. Matthew made me put that up, that fourth one up there.
What?
I don't know which one I should put my dot on.
Yeah, I thought this one too, employees have modern tech and know how to use it. I thought that was under modernized IT as well, but do we feel like it's?
So for me, it's both with technology and infrastructure. And even to the police department, frankly, that we have the tools that we need to do those things, I guess. We can get rid of it, but
I
I
feel
think we
like
need
the
to
dots.
modernize our IT systems generally, sure, but we need to make sure, like, it's a really silly example, but we had a whole long conversation about bump outs, the ability to snowplow. And having the right tools to do that job. That's just like a public works example. Having modern tasers is another one.
So if
It's almost
maybe
like
instead of tech, it's also
More like big equipment, and that could be IT systems or software.
Hackery.
When I look at modernized IT system, that there's a little bit of a distinction, overlap, but there's a distinction between like our macro systems as a whole. And how the ability to run our IT structure, architecture. And then the individual tools or pieces of equipment.
Yeah.
Broadly, that a department or a particular staff for me.
that makes.
Wouldn't
We
that
do have
be-
a-
Matthew, wouldn't that be under the people have the tools and training they need to be successful?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay, let's put it under there. Good call, Brenda. Okay. Now we know what that all
We know.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna hand you your dots, don't delay, just get up there. And place them because we have some values to discuss and we're gonna close out with our values discussion. We are getting work done. Yellow ones. Red.
I do it till then.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
I just gotta push that a little bit here. Can't stack them, Joe.
You're
I like seeing what each department. She's there. You're probably not gonna put a dot on communication.
Specific. Just the shows here.
Yes.
Commander yellow.
No,
You're supposed to have green.
we want them to. No campaigning.
You didn't right here, I can't
You
even.
can go back here.
Safety.
Oh, no, I'm not.
What's all this stuff?
You can't go that
I
way.
did all
I
that.
thought I could go around.
This is your.
Fine, we're part of this year.
Yes.
Should have
Sense of safety.
rethought these colors, Sasha, the yellow dot and the yellow, so it's another white dot.
I really didn't.
This is my bad. I'm trying to do a different, I don't we did blue and green, I got first like.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Remember it? That's what I thought. I did blue and green last year, and I couldn't tell difference between blue and green.
Wait, you don't.
Very good. Right, so, right there.
Alright.
That needs another daughter too. Hey.
Yeah.
All right, Dr. No.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, not a single dot.
Guys, no, I saw it.
It's a value, it's a value.
This is subtle.
I think those were inappropriate.
I guess it wasn't even an option. Yeah, she didn't mark it as a.
Oh, yeah, who did that?
So what we. Can we split them up for each place? Help people.
Oh,
yeah.
So is that like a vote for nine?
No, you can't do that. I'm gonna have to figure out that. I should have figured it all that.
It doesn't have to be anonymous. Take responsibility.
Oh, look at that.
Is there a new rule that we have to implement? Someone break a rule.
Well, they put it on the goal area.
Is the division.
But I appreciate this, it was helpful staff and like.
Yeah.
Either of them having been, like, go back and do that.
If they were all,
And then they ran home.
I'm going to, I don't know, I don't know what it is, so we're going to hurry get to the bottom of this. I know. Okay, who put their, before you take a picture, we gotta fix something. Who put their dots right here? Who did this?
Womp womp. Who did this?
There's a staff.
To go on the right, right?
Yeah, they put it on the goal area instead of the outcome.
If it was me, I'd never tell you.
You can go back and watch the tape, it's all on tape.
Yes, if somebody watched the video. Who did this?
You're gonna lose your votes if you don't own up to it. We're gonna take them off.
It's all on tape, I'll find out.
Okay,
But I think they should just go on adequate police support topics, right? Because I was, or I guess.
I'm gonna,
Arguably, that's probably exactly what it's discussed.
okay, that's where they're going and let's speak now or forever. Now take a picture. Okay. So we'll use your dots and we'll follow up with the section around priorities. We did not get to fully get to this place today, so we're gonna need to have a follow-up conversation when we get a little more detail into the plan and so we can figure out your priorities.
What's the difference between red and yellow?
The red dots were from staff,
Oh.
so that way you can
So in
see
other words,
what-
the yellows are more important.
well, it's the council direction. And then you can see where council can see like where staff's highest priorities are as well, yeah. So, okay, last thing I want you guys to do today, and we'll do this as our reflection. And again, this is we'll have more input with the organization around values as well, but I would like to have something to start from. And so, I want you guys to do, I call it a value card sort, and we're gonna try to do a more efficient version of this. But, so strategic plans tell us what we're gonna do, and values remind us how we do it. So I see values as the lens you look through as you're doing implementation of all of this stuff. So like the chief reminded us earlier, like fiscal responsibility and sustainability is really important. And there's other values too that should guide you in how you implement and go about achieving these goals. So I want you to think about, you're gonna need just a few more Post-its. So using, start with 5. So 5 Post-its and highlight the values that you think should guide organizations.
Each person gets 5 Post-its.
Each person take 5 Post-its and put a separate word. Or actually, just you can use one. That's fine. Let's use one. One Post-it and make a list. Let's try to expedite this a bit better. Okay. One Post-it, you're gonna make a list. You get 5 things.
What 5
Look,
things?
the chief's doing a great job. Can you hold up your Post-it and show him what you did? Put a list of numbers, 1 through 5. Okay,
In order?
now.
Any order you like.
Okay.
Rita did it as well with 5 bullets. Either one works. Numbers or bullets.
5 values,
5 values that you think should guide the implementation of these goals. Okay? Write down 5 words. 5 values. Here's some things to help inspire you. Which values best reflect and makes this organization unique? What values guide your work on your best day here? Which values should we model for our community? What values will carry us through challenges or change? And this one's a little more centric to staff. You could also modify it for council. If a new employee or counselor asks what matters the most around here, what would you tell them?
It's a weird, it's an alarm.
Abigail, what did you do?
Maybe she propped the door open.
Yeah.
This cameras.
I was looking.
Okay, does everybody have 5?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Get your 5 down.
Or do you want mine?
Oh, I was like, pass it to me.
Yeah.
Or vote for me.
That's what I was asking about, but it's. Less needs to be there, stealing our church.
Okay, does everybody have 5? Okay, now from your list of 5, cross out 2.
Oh, no.
No.
When you get into your list, when you look at your list of 5, cross out 2. You should have 3 left. I know.
Yeah, that's awful. I mean,
Do it.
We have a colleague that doesn't have to do this, so we did this, and she's really smart.
I thought you were gonna do this.
Yeah.
all right.
Steeler.
I still want to collect your entire list, but I want you to. Okay. Does everybody have their decisions made? Crunch time. All right. Amy, tell me what 3 you had left.
Transparency. My next one is a slash, growth/improvement. And equity.
Okay. Airport Jeff, what do you have?
ROI. Return
Return on
on investment,
investment.
integrity and transparency.
I agree, I can spell.
Is ROI a value?
It's transparency for some people,
Is ROI a value?
Yeah, I mean.
for some people, we don't get to question people, no judgment.
It wasn't questioning him.
I know. All right,
Fiscal responsibility, transparent.
fiscal responsibility, transparency, and what was the last one?
Sustainability.
Sustainability,
And that's sustainability physically, but in systems.
all systems. Chief, what you have?
Integrity,
Okay,
collaboration. Transparency.
Pat, what'd you have?
Integrity, honesty, and empathy. Good job.
Transparency, equity, and fiscal responsibility. Okay,
Stewardship, collaboration, and accountability.
stewardship, collaboration, accountability. Okay. Karen, what'd you have?
Fairness and equity, user friendly, and growth and prosperity.
User friendly, what was the last one?
Growth and prosperity.
Integrity. Honesty. And courage. Empathy, equity. Determination.
Be fairness, excellence.
Fairness, excellent. Okay, Dan,
Fiscal prudence, excellence, and respect.
you got excellence, prudence, okay? And respect. Okay.
Customer service, teamwork, and integrity.
Put down teamwork, which is collaboration, hard work, accountability, and one that's not up there is caring.
Okay,
Integrity, service, and
Integrity, reliable, and trustworthy.
okay. All right, you guys ready to close it all out here? We live these values every day. What would be different about how you work together, lead and serve? It's your ticket out of here.
Jonathan would yell at you about my suggestions.
What's the question?
All right. Maybe?
Oh, goodness. Say the question, I'm sorry.
If we lived these values every day, what would be different about how you, what it feels like to live here, work here, or lead here?
One of the things that might be different is I would have more opportunities or time for collaboration
Okay,
with my other peers.
okay,
I think with the integrity, having so many people in this room, that as a value, that I just think that kind of personifies what we already are.
okay,
So I don't know that it changes anything, it just validates who we are as a team.
okay.
But I think we are living out a lot of this already, but I think with the transparency aspect, it gives that community support. And if we have the community behind us, that's.
We all have that answer. I would probably say, greater consensus building.
Okay. Scott?
I think we have greater public trust, less criticism.
And more ability to empower staff to make make decisions in their scope of responsibility.
Okay. Jonathan?
And I don't know, you can come back to me.
Okay.
consensus building, I have to agree with that.
What you started with, we've come full circle. When we were talking about ground rules, we talked about like consensus. Like it.
I think of speed to action, I think, we could be moving things forward faster than we have in the past.
Okay. Josh?
I think balance.
Sounds good.
Things would go smoother. Less friction.
Less friction. All right. Yeah.
How do you feel about having all or most of these already? Perhaps at the council level, maybe more clarity among ourselves and maybe a little bit more clarity about what we're up to, and what we're doing.
Okay,
A little more purpose.
all right.
Yeah, a little more purpose.
David?
Broader workforce and transparency.
Okay. Dan?
Take a moment to show appreciation of what we have, what we've built, and what we can become. I think I've shared with some of the group that I'm a little cynical about values, because kind of like, of course, we want to really why them to do. But I think what can be really important. If an organization understands what they mean and what they don't mean, you could be better able to delegate and make decisions and understand where a recommendation at all levels.
Yeah.
We have all that together as will be a well-oiled machine. We will gain more respect from the community.
Yeah, all right. All good reasons to have values, and in a lot of ways, you're already doing a lot of this, but it does bring clarity to how you're gonna work through some of this stuff and what your intention is behind it. I just want to thank you guys, 12:03, so we're 3 minutes over, apologize for that. But I want to thank you for all of your good work over the last 2 days. This is an excellent start to building a plan. We have some more work to do, so you've not seen the last of us, but I promise I won't be as annoying next meeting. How about that? And you'll be able to see some more details and hopefully be able to weigh in on some additional prioritization so that Matthew and the team can build out a budget for you that reflects the things that we talked about today and things that you really want to focus on in the year ahead. So thank you so much. Thanks for having our team back. We love working with the Dalles, and it's been a pleasure being a part of this process this year.
We love having you here.
Thank you.